What's up everyone, Dylan here. I wanted to hop on and do another episode of the weekly analysis video. As always, I'll be covering what's been going on in the market and then going forward some key areas that I will personally be looking at to gauge relative strength and weakness. This week's video is going to be short and sweet, so let's get right into it. The last time I posted was Wednesday, June 19th, and I was explaining my thoughts on the entire market, and I basically said, hey, I think things are getting a little bit too stretched right now, and we're kind of due for a pullback. And you could see the very next day, the NASDAQ did in fact make the high, and then it went on to drop as much as 3% in just 3 days. Okay, so let's talk about what has happened since the time of my last post. Okay, first off, I wanted to bring you back to what I was talking about last time. I said, hey, look at this RSI from the NASDAQ. It was trading up to 81, which is very, 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 very overbought on a technical, perspective, right? So 81, we could go all the way back, which I showed you guys. The last time it was up there was all the way back in September of 2020. Okay, see right here. Hopefully my face isn't blocking it. You can see right here was the last time the RSI was up at that 81, that black line that I drew. And you could see that that 81 mark in the RSI lined up with, yet again, another high before a decline was made. Okay, so similar to then, we saw the same exact thing from Thursday onward. Okay, so it lined up with that 81 RSI. So going forward, I would personally keep an eye on that 81 level when it comes to the RSI on the NASDAQ futures, because clearly it has worked very, very well the last 2 times it has traded there. And that is on the daily time frame. It will not show as, it will not be the same if you look at like a 4-hour or a 1-hour. It has to be on that daily time frame chart. Okay, very important. Going forward, I also talked about NVDA, right? NVDA, same deal. In terms of the RSI metrics, I said 84 has been historically, a tough area on NVIDIA when it comes to the RSI on the daily chart. It did not quite get to 84, but like the NASDAQ, it came off heavily, okay? What did the NASDAQ or I should say, what did NVIDIA do from Thursday to Monday, right? You could see from Thursday to Monday, it came off 16% during regular hours and as much as 18.5% if you included the extended hours period, because today during pre-market it hit a low at 115.25, and that was technically outside of regular market hours. But in the grand scheme of things, it came off very hard in a very short amount of time, which is very, very rare for a top 3 market cap weighted name. Okay, we're not talking about GameStop or a penny stop here. We're talking about a $1 trillion market cap name. Okay, that is very, very rare. So I said in the Discord, if we go over here, right, let's go back here. I said, this was yesterday at 10:52 a.m. I said NVIDIA continues to drag down NQ since Thursday. I said the 118.2 level has been previous support. I would now watch that to see how it reacts near there, okay? So if we go ahead and mark that level, 118.2, which has been support, you could see yet again came right down into that area where buyers stepped in, and basically the buyers stepped in between the 118.2 level as well as that kind of little gap fill right there. So within this relative area, buyers were able to step in and support price. Okay, not only did that occur, but a level that I went over on last video was this one, right? This was posted on Thursday, June 20th. It was 1 day after I posted the video. I said, hey, ES visual, it hit that trend line that we went over on the last video. And I said, I really don't have anything to the downside until 5510. So that was a 78 point spread from the trend line to that area that I believe could be potential support. Okay, so nothing really in between those two lines were worth noting on my end. Okay, so not only did NVIDIA hit that general support area that it has bounced at in the past, but it also lined up with the S&P bouncing at that level that I just showed you guys, right? If I go ahead and draw it, I'll draw exactly how I have it, right? You could see right there, right? That lined up with 55.10, okay? I could even draw this a little bit lower if I wanted to attach it to that high right there instead of that high, right? Whatever floats your boat. I'll do it two different ways, right? For anyone who likes it one way or the other, right? Both ways worked, right? That 55.10-ish level held in plain English, okay? You could see 55.10 in between those two black trend lines. But it ultimately stemmed from this previous resistance. And then once it broke out, we had not retested that previous resistance going forward until yesterday, until Monday, June 24th, where it held not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Okay, so the fact that the S&P and NVIDIA both hit support around the same time after a very large decline in NVIDIA, to me, from a probability standpoint, and I wrote this in the Discord, let me see, just so I could show you guys. Let's see. In the Discord, right? My fault. I said, okay. NVIDIA had dropped 18.3% since Thursday's high, right, down to the overnight lows. That's a large move in such a short amount of time for a mega cap name. That type of move into a key support that also lines up with index support, aka S&P, tends to work. Okay, so in other words, when you have such a large decline on a mega cap name such as NVIDIA, right? We're talking NVIDIA, we're talking Apple, we're talking Microsoft, right? 18, 15 to 20% in 3 days. And that drop leads into a key support on that individual instrument, plus lines up also with an index support such as the S&P or the NASDAQ, chances are it's going to bounce there, okay? And I saw this on Twitter from TrendSpider, and I was laughing because I was thinking the same, right? It says you're shorting, and NVIDIA just had its worst 3-day decline in years, and you're shorting? Like, are you out of your mind? I thought that was funny. But so now that we have bounced, what's next? Okay, that's where we're gonna get to. But I just wanted to make it clear to you guys that those signs are very, very high probability signs or pieces of context to look at going forward. Another thing that I wanted to say alongside of those pieces of context is this. Okay, so NVIDIA from Thursday to Monday, like I said, it had dropped 18% and change when using the extended hours as well. Okay, so remember, Thursday to Monday, 18%. Okay, during that same time, the two equally weighted indices moved higher. Okay, let me repeat myself. During the time, the Thursday to Monday, that NVIDIA, which is one of the largest names in terms of market capitalization weightings, during that time of it dropping 18%, the equally weighted S&P and NASDAQ went up. That is crazy. What that means is that the broader market stayed resilient and was able to absorb the 18% drop in NVIDIA very, very well, which prevented the equally weighted indices from declining, right? I'll show you guys exactly what I mean, right? We go to RSP, which is the equally weighted S&P 500, right? This is assuming or a visualization of if the S&P 11 sectors were all equally weighted, as opposed to, tech being more weighted than the other sectors. Okay, so the Thursday, this is Thursday, the open of Thursday was 165.24. Okay, 165.24. The close of Monday was 165.72. It went up. Okay, if that wasn't enough, QQQE, which is the same concept, right? NASDAQ 100 equal weighted index shares. Okay, look, from Thursday to Monday, Thursday, okay, I'm wrong on this. It did not go up, but it also didn't really go too far, okay? It went from $89.34 down to $88.91, right? If I came up with a percentage move in that time frame, it dropped a quarter of 1 percentage point relative to 18% in NVIDIA. That's pretty damn impressive, if you've asked me, okay? That is basically, it's insane. It's very, very impressive. If you would have told me that the top two, or it was at one point last week, it was the number one weighted name, okay? But let's just be, conservative and say it was the number 2 weighted name. If you told me that the number 2 weighted name in the entire market, which happens to be a tech name, sold off 18% in 3 days, and you said, what do you think the equally weighted tech sector did? I would have told you it dropped 10%. So the fact that it didn't even drop 1% in that same time frame is to me, it's nuts. Okay, and like I said, what that shows is resilience amongst the broader market. Not just the broader market beyond tech, but tech itself as well. Hence why the NASDAQ 100, which is mainly tech focused, stayed so resilient. So it's very, very impressive. So going forward, right, because this week can be busy. Thursday we have jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and then Friday we have PCE at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time as well. Plus, Friday's the end of the quarter, so there's probably going to be a lot of rebalancing done by funds, right? You have funds that are getting rid of their existing hedges, getting into new hedges. There's a lot of moving parts that can be done, right? There's some names that are coming into the indices, right? If you have, like, say, the Russell, the S&P 400, 500, 600, they're adding names. They're getting rid of some names in the indices, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and as a result, it can cause increasing volatility. Okay, so if to the downside, if this 5510 area does not hold, what would I look at? Okay, what I would look at is the NASDAQ 20-day SMA. Okay, that would be, in my opinion, the next level down if the S&P loses that 5510 support. Okay, that's what I would be looking at to the downside. To the upside, I think it's very, very important to watch both the 50% retracement on the NASDAQ from all-time highs to recent lows, which is 20,048.5, as well as that same piece of information on NVIDIA, okay? I think that watching both those 50% moving at, or 50% fib retracements are going to be a very, very key area to gauge relative strength and weakness. Rule of thumb is using a large aggressive move, such as the one we've seen on NASDAQ and NVIDIA over the last 3 days, right? Technically, bears should want to defend that area. Okay, so if the bears do not defend the area and NASDAQ and NVIDIA are able to sustain value above that half retracement, that to me means that they are strong and they are able to withstand resistance. So use that how you want to, but that is where I currently stand, and that is it for me. Those are my levels to the downside, upside, and what's been going on in the overall market. I will see you guys next week. If you guys like it, thumbs up, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you like the shorter stuff. Let me know if you like the longer videos. Feedback is very, very appreciated. Peace.